Welcome to PK Woodworking, and today I'm going to poke a little bit of fun at YouTube. And as you can probably tell from the title of this video, like capitalism in woodworking is kind of like what this is all about. Because I see these videos all the time that are poking fun at it, like, hey, 5 things I wish I wouldn't have bought in my shop, 5 things that you shouldn't buy, the things that I bought that I wish I wouldn't have bought. And all these videos that are about, things that come down to me, time is money. And sometimes I think that the things that people are talking about come down to, like, maybe they just want more people to watch their videos, which is great. I'd want more people to watch my videos too. Like and subscribe, that'd be great. But the other part is, like, there are so many times that I'm living in right now in the shop not being built where I have a tool, I know I have the tool, I don't need it very often, but I need it like right now, and it's not here because it's either in storage or it's at my other house that hasn't been sold, and all these things that are going on at the same time. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today, at least from my perspective, to talk about, like, hey, what's the priority here when it comes to like tools in general? And I got 4 like subjects that I want to talk about. And the first one is going to be like hand tools. So like when I'm talking about a hand tool, I'm talking about a screwdriver, I'm talking about a nut driver, I'm talking about sockets, like, the kind of things that, are not powered hand tools, but then not like hand planes or whatever. I guess that could be a subsection of this, but like my thought process is, can you ever have enough screwdrivers? I mean, really, like if you've seen the thing that's behind me most of the time in my other shop, my last shop, I have all of these screwdrivers out on display. And it's not because I want to display them, it's because I want first order of retrieval. I want to know that I left a screwdriver somewhere and it's not there. And then I also want to know, as I walk up to it, that if I need a longer, narrow screwdriver to do something, that I know exactly where it's at and I just reach out and grab it. So do I need to have 30 screwdrivers on the back wall? I would tell you I do, because there's sometimes I need a micro screwdriver. There's sometimes I need a Phillips. There's sometimes I need a Torx. There's sometimes I need something else. Having them all there saves me time. And time is everything. You can't get any of that back ever. So for me, it's like, oh, I never should have bought this tool. And so I sell it off or I get rid of it. And then 2 years from now, I find that I need that tool and I don't have it when I need it. And then that sucks time away from me. And I don't want to do that. So for me, for hand tools, if I know I'm going to need it at some point in time, what's the harm? It's not like you're spending a crazy amount of money for a screwdriver or a nut driver or some of those things. Like, you can get crazy and you can, buy a bunch of snap-ons, like screwdrivers, etc. I have some snap-on screwdrivers. I'm not a snap-on like fanatic, really. I have snap-on screwdrivers because somebody a long time ago got me a snap-on gift card. And so I spent the money and bought some snap-on screwdrivers when they were on sale, which is super rare. But I would just say in general that that's not like me normally all the time. So yeah, most of the time I'm like, hey, get a quality tool and keep it around for when you're going to need it to save you time. And that's really like what it's about for me. Now, there's subsets now. Now we can go into like chisels and we can go into things like that. I don't have a ton of chisels. I have basically 2 sets of chisels, and then I have a 3rd set that I keep near the table saw. So when I have to like chisel a little remnant off of it when I'm ripping something or whatever, I don't care about the quality of it. I just want something sharp that's sitting there so I can use it. So anyway, there's all kinds of tools like that I can see where it gets out of control that you have a lot of. Like, look, I love Stumpy Nubs. I've met him a million times, and I think he's a great guy. I don't think there's any possible way he would use all of those hand planes he has behind him all the time, but it is an awesome looking setup for a YouTube backdrop. So I'm gonna give him props on that. He should keep every one of those, and he should never sell any one. He should add more. But that's where we're going with that. So my next one is power tools. Now these are like the hand power tools. I just watched a video where somebody was trashing the domino, the Festool domino. You know, I have one. I got it used from somebody, and I see the value in it. It's not something like that I necessarily would use all the time. I would rather probably make mortise and tenons in a more traditional fashion. So I have some machines to do that. But it is really cool for some things. Like if you're gonna do a large entry door or whatever, and you're gonna do a really deep tenon in it, it's fast. And so I understand why somebody would want that for those particular reasons. So I've got no problem with owning one of them. But when somebody says, oh, I bought this and it was $1,200 and I shouldn't have bought it and whatever, I'm like, it all depends on, you know, your like budget in this hobby. Some people's budgets are probably more realistic than mine, and they spend an appropriate amount of money on woodworking. I totally get it. In that case, like bust out a chisel and put a router bit in your router and go for it that way, because they'll make just as good of a tenon if you take your time. I mean, a mortise and tenon kind of joint, if you take your time, as it would if you were doing a loose, you know, tenon with a domino. So I get it. It's just, again, time is money. And if you are on a budget and the time isn't a big deal, then hey, more power to you. I think you should do it with a router, a chisel, and get it done that way. So those are important. I think there's a secondary thing with this when it comes to power tools. I think wasting time with a poorly designed and made power tool is incredibly frustrating, and I don't have any time for that. And so like I have a lot of Festool products, and I think in general they're great, but I am not a fan of their jigsaw. Like I think it wastes crazy time for me. It doesn't work intuitively. I don't think it's anything better than a Bosch that is half the price. And so for me, like I didn't like mine, and so I got rid of it and got something different. Because, you know, I just think that I'm gonna need a jigsaw no matter what, but I want one that works really good. So again, I don't use jigsaws all the time, but when I need one, I want it to be something that works well, which is kind of why we get on YouTube and look up for reviews, because I don't always wanna buy the most expensive thing that there is. I wanna buy the best value in whatever tool that I need, and I think those are the ones you wanna keep. Do you need to have a bunch of routers? No, you probably don't. You probably need, if you're really serious into this, you probably need like two. You need one that's got some power, and you need one that's maybe a trim router or something like that. But is it really functional to be able to have multiple ones that are set up on purpose so that you just go back to it and use it and you save time? For me, when I find really good deals, like where somebody is getting rid of all of their routers, and I ended up getting 4 routers, like little palm routers, for like $150 that were brand new. And I sold 2 of them off because I had time to pay for all 4 of them. So I have 2 that ended up being free, but they saved me a ton of time, because I have one set up with a little roundover bit, and I have one set up with a flush trim bit. Great to have something like that. So yeah, I think it's just also comes down to, do you have the space for the stuff? And so that kind of leads me maybe to the next thing, which is machines. I've come across this in all of my shops. I think my first shop that I had, like way back at my parents' house, we didn't have a whole lot of space in the shop. So you know, we didn't add any machines, and I didn't have any money to add machines anyway. So I had a table saw and a couple of other things, and routers and screw guns, things like that. And then when I moved to my own house for the first time, I had more space, and as projects happened, I added stuff. I got a hollow chisel mortiser, which was great for the project, not a great machine though, long term. And you know, you had space so I could add things. I moved to the last house I was in, and I was in the single car garage, which I have very few pictures of that, but in that particular space, I had a little sliding table saw in there. I had a chop saw. I shouldn't say chop saw. I had my Capex in there, and I had a radial arm saw set up on the same area so I could use them all together. The place was really tight. And then I added a drum sander, and it got even tighter in there. But I made it work, but I built a kitchen in it. But it was tight. And so you had to kind of decide, hey, do I keep this machine because of space, like straight up space? Do I keep the machine? And that was a whole different concept in general. And then I moved to moved to the 2-car garage, and then I started to get crazy and adding stuff all the time. And then the last shop that you've all seen, you've seen me add a bunch of different machines to it. I edited it a few times when the things weren't as good of a machine maybe as I wanted, but I didn't get rid of machines because I knew that I needed those machines long term. I wanted them long term. Some of them you use much more often than others, but I don't want to come to a place where I need the machine and I don't have the machine, because that's like the problem in general. And when you talk about like machines, then you get to this thing, which I pretty much haven't talked about very often, but this SCM bandsaw that I bought at an auction was a really good deal. And do I need something that can resaw 24 inches and has a 24-inch throat? Maybe. I do probably long term. Definitely the throat part of it. Resawing something 24 inches, I don't know, I guess I'll have to see as long term as things go on. But I will tell you, having the power, having the stiffness of the frame, the quality of the machine, really important to me. And then how big the actual table is makes it really easy to use. The Laguna that I had before was actually the same brand. So this SCM is actually made by ACM. And ACM makes, made in the past at least, a bunch of Laguna's Italian saws. And so they just have different features that they add between them based on what they want from a machine manufacturer. But yeah, SCM does not make this. This is made by like ACM. And the Laguna one that I had that was ACM, it was a much smaller saw, but it had a higher table, which was always kind of awkward for me to use. I like that this one has a lower table, which is on par with the rest of my machines in the shop. Works really good for me. Do I need this big of a bandsaw? Probably 95% of the time, no. But when you do need it, it's great to have it. So I wouldn't get rid of this just because, I don't need one this big that often, because I got a great price on it because I got it in an auction and it was basically brand new. And then at the same time, like, what are you gonna do when you need something bigger? You're gonna have to maybe choose an option that's not as safe to use, or you're gonna use an option that just might not work as well. So why get rid of it? Keep it even if you don't use all the capacity all the time. That's kind of my method of my madness in the machine part. Now let's get to space. Every shop is gonna be limited for space. I talked to somebody a little while ago that told me that they had a 4,000 square foot shop and they're struggling to figure out how they fit all the stuff in it. And my mind just blew when they were talking this way. I think that when I first started building my shop, my last shop that I built, one of my salespeople told me, you should really try to get this thing at least 30 feet wide. Like 30 feet wide is what you want to do, because otherwise you're gonna get in the way of yourself the whole. And I just said, look, I can't make it that wide. My space that I have in my yard won't accommodate something that wide. And then I got to, you're gonna regret it and whatever. Listen, you're always gonna want more space in a shop. More space in a shop is amazing. But that doesn't mean you can't get super creative and get it to work. I mean, I had a full 10-foot slider and a joiner planer combo and a shaper, a big shaper, in a 20 by 20 garage. And I had a chop saw that was taking up a ton of space on the side, and it still worked. Was I tripping over myself sometimes? I mean, sure, but I was better off in that 400 square foot with the gigantic sliding table saw, a joiner planer combo, and the shaper than I was when I was in my little, like, I guess 200 square foot single car garage that had all those machines in it, because I did have space to be able to make it work. So listen, I'm super, blessed at this point in time that I'm going to even have more space this time than I had last time. Material for the mezzanine is going to be here in a couple of weeks. It's already ordered and ready to go. It'll be here. I've already got a bunch of parts showing up for all of the Simpson strong ties, screws, all the other things that need to go to make this work. So that'll be happening in a couple of weeks, and that'll give me 400 square feet above me, which is going to even add more to it. And again, I'm super excited about it. And to any of you who gave me some feedback last time that I should ditch a center post in this thing under the mezzanine, well, I listened to you, so we re-engineered it, and there won't be any center post, but there will be a post almost right where the camera is right here, and there will be one post farther down there. I can't get away from those two. But the rest of the space underneath here should be just wide open. And then we will have about, like I said, 8.5 feet underneath the mezzanine. So, and then 7 feet on top of the mezzanine. So I think space is something that's always going to be an argument that everybody says, oh, I wish I had more space. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. I've seen people make amazing shops work in small spaces, make amazing furniture in small spaces. And I've seen people with gigantic shops that all they make is like things out of dimensional lumber, and who cares? Like if it's what you love and what you like to do, you can make it work. So I'm excited to bring you along with the journey as this one comes through, but I just want to talk about this and close with this. Like, woodworking is not a cheap hobby. Like, everything we watch on YouTube is about like the capitalism of buying all the stuff that we've got to buy to make our hobby work. There's no such thing as a free lunch here, but I would say that buying stuff and then getting rid of it sometimes is more silly than buying stuff and holding on to it, because you won't want to buy it again. Like, because you're always going to pay more the second times around. Things always get more expensive. Doesn't matter. So I would say if you've got the space and you think you're going to use it again at some point in time, don't get rid of it. Now, if you bought something that just was a piece of, then yeah, fine. Find something better that works for you. So that's my rant today on the people complaining about the top 5 things that I shouldn't have bought. Like, I just say, like, figure out what the right thing to do is, buy it, keep it if you got space for it. Anyways, thanks for watching. And if you haven't liked and subscribed, go for it, please. I appreciate every one of you. Have a great one.